We went to the Philippines and we stayed at Atlantis resorts, Puerto Galera and Dumaguete. Both resorts are extremely underwater photography friendly. Love that. They take you diving at the most pristine reefs in the area. Puerto Galera has lots to do in the town. It's a bustling little town, but the reefs nearby are home to some of the most beautiful creatures and healthy coral. And we were surprised at how healthy the coral was around Puerto Galera. There's an island offshore called Verde Island. Make sure you go there. This shot shows how healthy the coral is, and we got to see some trumpet fish, some cornet fish, needle fish, stick fish, all those sort of long cylindrical looking fish. As you can see, this one wasn't very bothered by my presence. And huge coral heads, staghorn coral fields, lots of nudibranchs everywhere. Water temperature was between 78 and 82 around Puerto Galera. Lots of Moray eels to look at. Make sure you go to Verde Island. If they have 2 trips going to Verde Island, I would recommend doing that. And, just some beautiful nature around that place. They just installed a water treatment plant in Puerto Galera, so hopefully that's going to bring the water quality up and be good for the environment. Then we went to a little place called, it's the province of Cebu, and there's a town called Oslob. It's a tourist center. You're likely to see lots of backpackers coming through there. And it's known for snorkeling with these guys, whale sharks, and some of them were up to about 25 feet long. They come in and they feed on krill in the morning. They have I want to call him a krill master, who just sort of shovels small amounts of krill into the water, and it attracts these whale sharks that come in the morning, and you get to snorkel with them. No motors. It's all paddling there. No electric motors, no gasoline motors. We like that. Lots of eels around the reef. Again, we also took a flight over to Dumaguete after Puerto Galera. And in Dumaguete, you get to see the small critters like these razorfish, nudibranchs. We saw lots of anemone fish. This thing is called a wonderpuss, and it lives on the volcanic pumice on the bottom near the resort in Dumaguete. Mandarin fish. Mandarin fish come out to mate at dusk. We were lucky to get one shot. But make sure you bring your macro camera set up so you can photograph these nudibranchs, mandarin fish, sweet lips. These were wide-mouthed mackerel. The colors on the nudibranchs there are different than anywhere I've seen before. Again, I talked about the stickfish earlier. That's what that is. The wall. Both the walls. Apo Island, which is off Dumaguete, and Verde Island. Beautiful corals. You go to those 2 islands are day trips that you can do optionally, and they feed you. They take you out and you have lunch and you stay out there all day. You do 3 dives on those excursions, and they're well worth it if they're not included in your package. I would even do 2 trips to those islands because the biodiversity there, some of the best you're going to see anywhere in the world. Back to the muck diving around the resort in Dumaguete, we got to see the highly venomous blue-ringed octopus. And as long as you don't mess with these things or try to play with them or pick them up, they're not going to bother you. They're not going to bite you, but they are highly venomous, so you don't want to mess with them. This was really, this creature's only about 5 to 6 inches long if you see a big one. They are smaller than that most of the time. So Cebu Airlines took us to Dumaguete from Puerto Galera. That's the sunrise there at Dumaguete from the cafe. Your cafe is right on the water. You walk through a beautiful rainforest-like setting where they keep the grounds immaculate. The dive shop is run very well and efficiently. All the guides are friendly and more than willing to set up your equipment and help you on the boat, get you off the boat. They'll even load your camera onto the boat for you. They use outrigger type dive boats to go on the longer excursions. It's just highly recommended that you go and experience both resorts. Puerto Galera with its corals and Dumaguete with its prolific muck diving. And when you're doing the muck diving, make sure you ask to see certain critters. The critters you're going to see there, seahorses, they're going to take you probably around 60 to 80 feet to see seahorses, depending on the time of year. And these seahorses were some of the larger ones we saw. The flamboyant cuttlefish are only about 4 or 5 inches long. So again, make sure you bring your macro setup if you're a photographer. Most of the muck diving is geared toward photography. You're going to see a lot of photographers with strobes, macro lenses. You won't see a lot of wide angle setups. So if you have a GoPro, you might want to leave that behind. I don't think you'll get a picture of anything that's really small with a GoPro. But we shot some stuff with iPhones, like this balloon fish. We have iPhones you can zoom in. We shot with a Sony ZV-E1 full frame Sony's camera with a 60mm macro lens on it. We got to see this mimic octopus, which isn't that big. Its full radius is only about 7 or 8 inches. So it's one of the smaller octopus you're going to encounter underwater. But so many different shapes. It camouflages itself into the sand, and it makes itself look like, something like vegetation on the bottom. Sometimes it tries to look like a sea snake. Sometimes it tries to look like a ray on the bottom, or it just mimics the shapes in the sand. This is a sea crate. Sea crates are also venomous animals, but they have to breathe air, so they go to the surface. They might swim right up to you, but they won't bite you or anything, so don't be afraid of them. Be ready to take pictures. And that's a banded sea crate. The textures on some of these nudibranchs were interesting to look at as well. This was a larger nudibranch that we found. And the interiors of the rooms are interesting. They look like they're scalloped out to look like Flintstones, or the caves. They're smooth and rounded, and they're beautiful. So I highly recommend going to Philippines, and if you want to do a trip to Philippines, let us know. We're thinking about doing another one soon. Make sure you bring your macro camera set up and be ready for some of the best diving and some of the best values in diving for dive travel. And that's Atlantis Resorts in the Philippines. Call us at Hollywood Divers, 323-969-9666.